Greetings to all amateur radio operators. This is Mark N4UFP with the South Carolina Section Manager's Report for February 2023. Please note that the full section report and other information on amateur radio in South Carolina can be found at ARRLSC.org. First, let's look at South Carolina Hamfest coming up in 2023. The Ridge Amateur Radio Club Tailgate Party will take place April 15th, 2023 in the open lot next to Sheely's Barbecue, 340 East Columbia Avenue, Leesville, South Carolina. Gates will open at 8 a.m. For more information, visit w4rrc.org. The Columbia Amateur Radio Club Swap Fest will take place May 13th, 2023 at the South Carolina Military Museum, 1 National Guard Road, Columbia, South Carolina. Gates will be open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. For more information, check w4cae.org. The Rock Hill Ham Fest will be held on October 7th, 2023, with location and hours to be determined. For more information, please visit ycars.org or contact John Gendron, NJ4Z, at nj4z@yahoo.com. Finally, the Gaffney Hamfest will be held October 21st, 2023 at 204 West O'Neill Street, Gaffney, South Carolina. Gates will be open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. For more information, contact Jim Fagan, KI4MJK, at CARES, Post Office Box 8006, Gaffney, South Carolina, 29340. If anyone has a Hamfest coming up in our section that I did not mention, please let me know. I will include it in my next report and post the information on our section webpage. John Gendron, NJ4Z, a member of the York County Amateur Radio Society, has been nominated the 2022 Roanoke Division Service Award winner. The Roanoke Division Service Award is the most prestigious recognition of an ARRL member in the Roanoke Division, and it recognizes an amateur who has shown consistent and extensive leadership. First licensed as a technician in 2016, John quickly advanced to amateur extra while simultaneously vitalizing both ARRLs in his area and the York County Amateur Radio Society in Rock Hill. He also has a YouTube channel called From the Ham Shack. Congratulations to John on a job very well done. American Legion Post 26 in Aiken has chosen to honor a local Marine Corps radio telephone operator who paid the ultimate price during the Vietnam War. Post 26 now has a plaque on display at its headquarters on Old Airport Road in Aiken, marking the home of the William H. Kilburn Post 26 American Legion Amateur Radio Club. It's an action approved by the Post on January 24th. William Hunter Kilburn, a 1969 Aiken High School graduate, died while on duty in Quang Nam Province, May 31st, 1970. The Marine in front of him tipped a wired Viet Cong booby trap, and sadly the rest is history. I would like to extend my deepest thanks to the club for their recognition of Mr. Kilburn and wish them every success in the amateur radio activities they are undertaking, and I hope to have an opportunity to work their station, W4RTO, in the future. Our new section youth coordinator, Michael Grimsley, KF4W, has been a ham since 2000 after being intrigued by a ham who came into the Radio Shack store where he worked part-time in Beaufort. A teacher and an aspiring administrator, he has always wanted to get his students interested in amateur radio. His attendance last summer at the ARRL Teachers Institute gave him the confidence to get going, as they say. Well, and you know the rest of the story. Presently, he is focused on identifying all current schools that may have a club and the corresponding ARRL affiliated club that supports them. He has organized a student club, KS4TEM, at Midland STEM Charter School, which recently participated in the ARRL School Roundup. ARIS, the Amateur Radio on the International Space Station program, is seeking formal and informal educational institutions and organizations, individually or working together, to host an amateur radio contact with a crew member on board the International Space Station. ARIS anticipates that the contact would be held between January 1st and June 30th, 2024. For more information about this, please go to arriss.org. Speaking of amateur radio on the International Space Station, students at the Orangeburg Christian Academy are getting a chance to speak to astronauts in space this year at the International Space Station. I mean, what is cooler than talking to an astronaut, said math and science teacher Ashley Howell. It's not going through the internet or the phone system or anything. It's a direct contact in space. It'll be from here at our school directly to the space station, she added. With aerospace becoming a top industry in South Carolina, educators hope this opportunity will inspire some of its students to become future scientists. Once again, the Schofield Amateur Radio and Technology Club of Aiken, South Carolina is making waves, literally and figuratively. Austin Heap, Tamaje Irvin, Carly Johnson, and several other Schofield Middle School students have had their hands full during the past few days, taking part in the American Radio Relay League School Club Roundup. The club, founded by Aiken area amateur radio operators Kent Hufford, KQ4KK, and Mike Newland, NC8N, has gained, through its success in the School Club Roundup, a reputation for being one of the top such clubs in the country. This club has placed first nationwide 4 times and has also won them in the middle school category more than once. I look forward to reporting the rankings from the latest contest when they finally become available. And finally, Public Information Coordinator Gordon Mooneyhan, W4EGM, would like to pass along information about this year's Severe Weather and Flood Preparedness Week scheduled for 5 March to 11 March 2023. Please visit weather.gov/ILM/SevereWeatherSC for more information. That's all for this month, folks. Until next month, 73 and be safe, and for UFP.
Mark, you're muted.
Yep. I figured after 6 minutes of that, nobody really needed to hear anything else from me this evening. That right there was more than enough. And all I can say is probably I couldn't have done worse. So that's the good news. That's probably about it. Good evening, Brad. Sorry I got in a little late. I was indisposed, but got out here as soon as I was finished, and mostly I have to just make sure that Munchkin doesn't jump up here and decide to interfere. Good evening, Gordon.
Hey, Mark.
Well, welcome in, everybody. So, yeah, we had to fill a little time, and probably not a bad thing to run the latest section report on here, just to make sure everybody saw it. And,
hey, if you need time killed, I'm your guy.
You definitely
I can destroy time.
All right, so let's get into it.
What have we got this evening? I'm thinking the first thing we should talk about would probably be the kind of thing that our minds all turn to in the early spring, that time of year when the weather warms up and we begin to think about other things. Field day. So I think we're back to a more traditional field day this year. And we probably need to start thinking about field day visits. I'm hoping I'll be able to do some, Brad. My wife shared something interesting with me today. She told me that I am taking her to the United Kingdom. And her plan is to do it the last 2 weeks of June.
Wow. You're trying to keep up with Bill? Is that what you're doing?
No. This is, you'll love this. June 10th will be the 50th anniversary of my arrival in the UK. I lived there for 3 years in another life when I was young. And she thinks it'd be a great time for me to return.
Permanently?
No, thank God. No, the only way she would leave this country would be to return to Australia to get closer to any future grandchildren. And in case she does that, I've gone ahead and joined an amateur radio club in Sydney, just in case worse comes to worse, and I have to make that 12,000-mile trek and start amateur radio all over again. You know, I'm a guy that believes forewarned is forearmed.
Well, there you go. Well, that'd be good. I'm not sure when Charles's coronation's supposed to be. I think they were originally talking sometime in April, but I don't know. So you might get to be there for that.
I'm hoping it'll be after that, but before the July and August holidays start for everybody. And I mean, I would like to go. It'd be kind of fun. But let's find out what people are thinking about actual field day, the one that's going to occur here on the fourth weekend in June.
Yeah. I'm going to get. All right. So we're going to be, or I guess I am going to be, and
I don't know. If possible, I will try to find a way to be back in time for field day.
is the locator up yet? Yes, it is. Field day locator. I'm going to bring that up, pop that on the L screeno here in just a second. Okay. So there we go. There it is. And if you
Yep.
want us to stop by, you need to put your site, where you're going to be, who you are, fill out the form on this site here. Is that correct?
That is correct. Typically, should I be able to get my schedule set so I don't have to be in Europe when field day occurs, normally I will pick a route. Sometimes I'll go the upstate route, although the last couple of years I've been on the coastal route, which is not completely coastal. I usually start in Barnwell, work my way to the coast, and then as far up the coast as I can. You know, I may do something different this year. I may try the Midlands. But between all of us who are doing field day visits, we try to reach as many of the sites in South Carolina as possible. And the best way to know, look at the field day locator. That not only tells us who will be operating, but where they are. That's a tremendous help in planning. And of course, anybody who wants to email me with their field day plans, when and where, that's great too. And I think in the next month or so, we'll have the routes pretty well laid out. Gordon, what about you? You going to try to make any field day visits this year? Uh-oh, that is clearly a question I shouldn't have asked.
Gordon has some freezing problems. It's a little cold down there on the coast, so it's affecting his connection.
Hey, it's going to be a little bit cold here.
It is cold here. Now, I remember seeing something. We had some new rules posted for field day. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right.
Let me pull those up.
You got some bullet points on that?
Yeah, well, I got something from HQ.
I'll put this in the chat also. All right, Gordon's going to have to restart his computer, he says. So he'll be back momentarily.
All right, Brad, I have the field day rules in front of me. There are 3 major rule changes for 2023. Number 1, get on the air stations, the dreaded go to station. The bonus point criteria have changed. And in section 7.3.13, here's what it says about that change. 7.3.13 go to bonus updated for 2023. Class A and F stations operating a get on the air station may earn the following bonus points. 7.3.13.1 any successfully completed contacts made by an operator at the go to station are worth 5 points regardless of mode. there is no limit to the number of contacts a single GOTA operator can make. 7313.2. If a GOTA station is supervised by a GOTA coach, a single 100-point bonus will be earned. Below that, the GOTA coach supervises the operator of the station doing such things as answering questions and talking them through contacts, but may not make contacts or perform logging functions. To qualify for this bonus, there must be a designated GOTA coach present supervising at least 10 contacts. Okay, so that's the first change.
That's a big, that can be a,
That's a big one.
it is. Yeah. 5 points for each queue. That's more than
Yep.
you're going to get anywhere else, but it helps level the playing field and encourage people for the GOTA. So that's cool.
Okay. Now, the second change is that there are 3 power level options depending on entry class. Let me see.
What section's that?
Well, they didn't say, so now I'm going to have to do a quick search here to see where they
Power multipliers. 7.2. New for 2023. Yeah. Classes A, B, and C cannot exceed 500 watts PEP. Power output for classes D, E, and F cannot exceed 100 watts PEP.
Where'd you find that, Brad?
Section 7.2.
Yep, new for 2023. Yep, A, B, and C cannot exceed 500 watts PEP. Classes D, E, and F can't exceed 100 watts PEP. Now the multipliers, let's see what they are. If all contacts are made of using 5 watts or less, and if a power source other than commercial mains or motor-driven generator is used, to wit, batteries, solar cells, water-driven generator, the power multiplier is 5. Cool. If the contacts are made using 5 watts or less, but the power source is from commercial mains or a motor-driven generator, the power multiplier is 2. If you happen to charge your batteries during field day using commercial mains or a generator, your power multiplier is 2, even though you might think it'd be 5. Okay. If any or all contacts are made using an output power of up to 100 watts or less, the power multiplier is 2. If any or all contacts are made using an output power greater than 100 watts, the power multiplier is 1. The power multiplier for an entry is determined by the maximum output power used by any transmitter to complete any contact during the event. Example, a group has one QRP station running 3 watts and a second station running 500 watts. Well, the power multiplier of 1 applies to all contacts made by the entire operation. So it's about the maximum power. If you're going to get a multiplier of 5 for QRP, you probably need to just be running QRP. Okay, now last thing. We have multi-channel streaming and automated operations are prohibited. Let's see where that shows up.
Scoring, maybe.
Here we go, 6.4.
Yep.
New for 2023. Each contact must include contemporaneous direct initiation.
Big
Wow.
words. Big
That's
words.
big words.
Even for the league.
Somebody thought we were getting paid by the syllable here.
Jesus. How many
I-
consonants are in there?
I rarely see the adjective contemporaneous.
Might have to look that one up.
Yep. Well, that's the $10 word of the day that substitutes for the periphrastic phrase at the same time.
Yes.
Contemporaneous
Listening or
direct
coding at the same
initiation
time.
by both operators making a contact. Initiation of a contact may be either by local or remote control. Fully automated contacts are prohibited.
So you can use a remote station. You just
Yep.
can't.
Fully automated.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read anything about some of the variants on WSJT type software for FT8. There is FT8 software available that fully automates FT8. You can start it, and it'll just keep calling CQ, make contacts. I think there's also a search and pounce mode where it will look at what's received, pick the strongest one, and make a call back. And I think you program it to stop after N repetitions. So yeah, I think that's what they were trying to avoid, is the use of bot type software for FT8.
And
They
as
wanted to make
John
sure.
says, no fox and hound mode.
Absolutely not. That's what it sounds like. And I understand why they have that. Okay, so those are the three big changes.
Well, they're leveling the playing field, and they're actually encouraging you to use less power. So
Yeah, absolutely.
if you're going to go out and run battery or some other type of power generation and you run QRP, you actually got a shot. You're probably going to get a pretty good score.
Yep, I would think so.
I think these are not bad changes.
No, the idea is to make it possible to do something other than have a generator-driven 1,000-watt station in a park with a Yagi on a portable tower. There'll be some other ways for people to be more creative and still have a decent score. Looks like the bonus, with the exception of GOTA, it does not appear that some of the other bonus points have changed. They all appear to be the same. The basic classes are the same: A, B, C, D, E, F.
And it looks like I don't know whatever to call this, the COVID rules are still in a place where club score.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see.
Well, it's right there. The section 7, right up under scoring. Second paragraph.
I'm still reading section 6.
Oh.
Aggregate club score. There it is. Yep.
Yeah. So I actually really like that rule. And it means you could probably, there's no location limitations. So if you had a club member in a different state or something like that, I guess that would count too, right?
Well, what I find interesting is
Podunk Hollow.
Yeah, the example they give does not indicate a radius in which the operators must be in order to be part of that aggregate club score.
Do you see that at the end of that paragraph?
Do I see what? The radius? No.
No. The end of the paragraph.
Yeah.
On the aggregate. Podunk Hollow Radio Club.
Yes, I saw that.
Okay.
Hey, Podunk Hollow Radio Club has a long history with Field Day.
Message handling, I guess that's all the same. Satellite queues. Yeah. All right. So we've covered that. That's a big one. Let's see. We got Gordo's back here. Gordon?
We getting anything on the chat? Anybody there?
No. John just left. He's got to go call the Y Cars net.
Yeah,
So if anybody's got any questions, hit us up in the chat, either on Facebook or YouTube or even on Twitter. You can tweet us, and we're live there, everywhere, all the devices.
Yes, rumors of our on-the-air death have been greatly exaggerated, to paraphrase Mark Twain.
Safety officer bonus, Class A only. All right. Social media. 100 points.
600 points total if you do everything.
Yeah. Well, I think these are pretty good changes. I'm not disappointed with that.
I remember one year the Grand Strand Club had 750 points today because literally about 2:30 thunderstorms rolled in and we were off the air. 600 of those points came from me doing my PIO stuff. So I got to 600 points without even picking up a radio.
Well, a successful field day score, it's all about the bonus points.
Yes.
You know, if you're operating, say, with a battery, Class A, well,
now, I mean, with it's still the bonus points in the multiplier.
yep, you want the highest multiplier and as most bonus points as you can. Hello, Dean. Good to see you out there this evening. We're just cussing and discussing field day. We just went over the rules.
David asking us, so there is no radius. So, no,
I didn't see one in the rules, and that may have been an oversight. On the other hand,
that's not that's not your problem.
oh no.
That's something that, if it's a problem, they will address it next year.
Yeah.
So take advantage of what you can take advantage of.
Yes, David. In fact, if you know somebody in a club in Wisconsin, probably that's okay. Yeah, there's no radius right now. I think that may have been an oversight, but nevertheless, that's how it stands. And
I don't know. I mean, if you can do remote operation, there's no, as long as they're in the same DXCC entity, I think that should be okay to me.
Yeah, I'm thinking that I probably shouldn't try to leverage my membership in the Warringah Amateur Radio Club in Allenby Heights, New South Wales. I probably ought to take a pass on that.
You know, one of the things that I don't want to say bothers me about field day, but we look at it being North America. And it's not just North America, it's all of IARU Region 2. So it's all of the Western Hemisphere, basically. And, look beyond just the boundaries that we've traditionally looked at.
Well, okay. I think there are a couple things to consider. But first, I see David had another on-target comment. Well, that lends a huge advantage to some online clubs. Well, it may, but for clubs that have a fairly large membership base, they need to kind of get out and make sure they connect with members so that the members know that even if they can't participate in a club field day operation, they can be part of the aggregate score working from their home. And I guess you can go beyond that. I have my wife's younger sister. Well, my wife's a ham, but her younger sister is a ham, and so is my brother-in-law. So maybe part of the outreach is other hams in your family, either immediate or extended. Maybe you can get some of them to contribute to the aggregate score. I have no idea how successful clubs will be in creating this kind of aggregate score, except to say that clubs that are primarily contest clubs that have used this with other contests and have kind of worked out how to make it work, they'll probably do better with it than clubs that have never done it before. I think there's a learning curve that you have to go through. Does that make any sense, Brad?
Yeah,
It does now, and GOAT is going to be a good bonus structure too. If you can have somebody that, I guess you got to have one coach to sit there and that's all they do. You can rotate that. You can have more than one, and that's a great way to introduce people to the hobby. So it would be nice to see people leverage that.
Yeah. Anything that makes field day more popular is good because clubs may not do a lot of things. There are some clubs that specialize in contesting, and they have lots of stuff going on. Those folks out in the audience who are members of, say, the Swamp Fox Group or the Carolina Sidewinders or somebody else, I'd be preaching to the choir if I said much to you about it. But those folks are at one end of the spectrum. And then you have some other clubs that are more like the mythical Podunk Hollow, that are primarily social in nature. But the one event that everybody is willing to be active in is field day. And if it's the only activity that a club is going to undertake in the course of a year, the only operating activity that, excuse me, I need to do this correctly, resembles in some ways, including point scores for contacts and other activities, but yet is not a contest, comma, that's going to be the one activity they get involved in is field day. So anything that levels the playing field gives smaller clubs that aren't as active as in contesting a chance to kind of level things up and get a good score. I think that's great. It encourages activity. And at the end of the day, one of the things I like to see are on-the-air activities that clubs sponsor. And it can be a lot of different things. You've heard me talk about the Schofield Middle School in Aiken and the phenomenal success they've had with the ARRL Club School Roundup. Oh my gosh, those middle schoolers, one year, they achieved the highest score in the Club School Roundup, period. Hell, they beat engineering schools at the collegiate level. You know, so it is possible if you get the right people doing the right thing, you can do pretty well. And David, locations for maximum exposure, that's interesting. Maximum exposure typically would involve one that is accessible to the public, which typically involves finding space in a public park.
And that sometimes that space for field day, that amount of space can be hard to find in those types.
It can be.
A city park, maybe a mall parking lot.
Well,
You know,
mall
because
parking lots, depending on how busy the mall is, that can.
And around the fringes, there's usually grassy areas where you can set up with no problem.
Yeah, that's true. Other
And there's plenty of
areas
food.
where I have seen field day operations that have interestingly had fairly good access, those that have somehow partnered with a church.
Yeah.
You know, they're operating in the parking lot of XYZ church. Well, that's a very accessible location, and certainly the churches.
Cars.
Say what?
White cars, you know, they're in that park that the church has.
Yes. Well, that is interesting because that's a great location, Westminster Park, and it is connected to Westminster Presbyterian Church. I'm trying to remember, is that open to the public during the hours of daylight?
Yes.
It is. It's not the most accessible place.
Yeah, and I think
it's kind of out there on the fringe of town.
Yeah, I think that was really what Dave was trying to get at, was how do you find maximum exposure? Westminster Park is a great location, and I can't thank Westminster Presbyterian enough for partnering with YCARS to do that. But it doesn't have what I'd call direct exposure.
No, you're going to get the people that are just coming out there to do things normally. Anyway, you're not going to get. I mean, that park's big enough, and I'm sure it gets enough visitors to where they're going to get new people. But
yeah, David, I think part of it goes down to getting the word out that you're having it and where you're having it. It goes down to the public information officer.
you get the word out. That's the biggest thing. I mean, if you can advertise the location enough, you'll probably get somebody to show up.
Yeah, I mean, the Grand Stratton Club, they have it at the Coastal Carolina Science Center, which is out 501 almost to Conway. And, you know, on a weekend in June, you don't want to be on 501. You know, it's, you know, talk about traffic, but they still get 2, 3, 4 visitors a year coming out. You know, I think it'd be better to be in Myrtle Beach, but there's people don't want to go to the beach. You know, don't want to fight the traffic at the beach.
Well,
That's
that
the
time
joy
of
of Horry
year-
County. You're going to have traffic wherever you're at.
yeah, that time of year, it's going to be hard to find space. Period down there.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy.
That's a different issue. You're talking about
Yeah.
Myrtle Beach and all the other things that go on
Yeah.
in the Grand Strand region.
God, if you could sit up on the beach, how great would that be?
I'll tell you, I don't know Myrtle Beach very well, but as you know, I don't know if it's a matter of good luck or bad, but I spend a lot of time on Edisto Island and Edisto Beach, and that beach is public. And I think the big problem with setting up there for field day would be somehow getting everybody else on the beach to walk around your antennas and not
Yeah.
get hurt.
Yeah.
That having been said, to go back to David's question, I think ultimately what you're looking at, if you want maximum exposure, try to find a church or maybe an elementary school that has no activities that weekend, someplace where you have typically a parking lot that is not in use during field day and is easily accessible to the public. It's visible from a road, and it's a facility whose location is known to people. For example, here in Rock Hill, we have a community college, York Technical College, and they have several large parking lots, and they're all very accessible. One year, we actually had a ham fest in one of those parking lots, and it did not suck. And that might be that kind of place might be worth a shot. Looking to see if you could use the parking lot, and that would make you very visible because community colleges are generally located on major highways, major local highways, arterial highways. Churches might be another one. Putting up field day in the corner of a mall parking lot might work as long as the tenants, the stores that are in the mall, don't get mad at you. That one might be a little trickier. You'd really want to find out who is the owner of the mall space, who's the landlord, and get their permission first.
Yeah,
But
some of those is permission for some of those places. It's probably going to be a little hard to get because you're going to
Yep.
be out there all night. They
Mhm.
want to know what riffraff's going to be out there.
Yeah.
I think back to York County Amateur Radio Society, all the decades that I've been a member, some of the best sites they had were public schools. They, for a couple of years, used Sullivan Middle School, which was on Cherry Road, which is a main north-south drag right through the city of Rock Hill. There weren't too many trees near the parking lot in the grass to set up antennas, but we were able to get some stuff up in the air, and we made a lot of contacts, and we had passers-by that would just stop to see what the heck was going on. So I think typically if you find a school on a main road or maybe a church with a large parking lot, the tricky part with churches all revolves around Sunday morning.
Yeah.
Because many churches have there are some for whom the Friday or Saturday might be the Sabbath, but typically it's Sunday, and that could be a problem with field day. On the other hand, if you're one of the clubs that's running a limited operation and you're not planning on operating Sunday, and believe it or not, there are clubs like that, then a church might not be a bad choice. But it generally winds up being a public school. You just have to, I think you have to ask around, and it's going to be different. I've been to Greenwood a number of times. So to get back to David's question, I don't know.
Well,
That
we
might be
gave him a lot to think on. Ask around,
Yeah.
some people that
Yeah.
drive around, do some scouting on your own. Especially with the weather we've been having. My God, it's a great time to go take a drive. Just get out. What else do we have? I think we had some other stuff to cover.
yeah. Where is my list?
To, talking about travel plans for field day, mine are totally up in the air. Because I had the great idea of sending the field day resolution to my local congressman, who's a good friend, Russell Fry, and John Robert Stratton heard about it, West Coast Division Director, who's also a involved with congressional liaison. And so he and I had a very nice phone conversation. And I may be taking Russell Fry around to some field day sites. So if it's just him, I'm going to be hitting Myrtle Beach and Florence because they're in his district. He asked me if Congresswoman Nancy Mace could come. She's down in Charleston. I said, sure, no problem. We can go down to Charleston, hit Trident and the Charleston Club, and then come back up to Florence. So, and if neither of them want to go, if it turns out, then I plan on hitting the whole coast from Beaufort to work my way up.
That's a long day.
Yeah, I just... Sometimes I don't know when to shut up.
And you know what, Gordon? When you don't know when to shut up, we're always willing to listen.
Well, thank you. And I have sent the resolutions to the State House, State Senate, and the governor.
Okay. Brad, can I switch gears a little bit?
Yeah.
One of the other items on today's agenda was clubs, and more specifically, clubs providing us with some information about their activities, things that we'd like to know about. So here's the interesting thing. Everything that we do, things that Brad does in his capacity as technical coordinator, Gordon in his capacity as the public information czar, that's what PIC stands for, right, Gordon?
Sounds good to me.
I mean, coordinator's kind of wishy-washy, but if the guy's a czar, holy cow, he can get things done.
Czar.
The work that I do, volunteering my time for the league in the state as section manager, one of the things we are very interested in and would like to know more about are the clubs in our state and the things that they're doing. Because believe me, if you guys are doing good things, I want to give you all the publicity I can. I want to give you all the recognition I can. I'm just one guy, so it's hard to keep track of all those things. We would appreciate it if folks who are in clubs, could be the club PIO, could just be a person in the club who's a born communicator. If you guys want to share that with us, that's fine. I'd love to feature it in my section reports and, of course, the section videos. Certainly, I'd like to talk in more detail about clubs at the next live stream, talk about some of the things you're doing. And that only happens if somebody tells us.
Featured in the newsletter.
This is something that I've learned about over my years as section manager. I write a report every month, and I'm not going to lie to you. I have written now 144. I think that I'm on my 148th.
It's been over 10 years.
It's been a lot over 10 years. It's actually been over 12 years. And here's the thing. After 12 years, if I had only my very average intellect to depend on, I'm out of material. So I'm very excited about what clubs are doing, because at the end of the day, I think one of the most important things that we have going on in amateur radio are clubs. They're a way to bring people together with a common interest related to amateur radio. Quite often, with today's HOA environment, it's a way for people to get on the air and get things done. Clubs are important, and I want to make sure that they get the recognition for the praiseworthy things that they do. So,
And we're always looking for stuff with this. And you might think sometimes we're a little heavy on one club or another, but the reason behind that is they give us information. And we try to reach out as much as we can. And that's why we have all the social media channels, is to make that easier for you to get stuff to us and us to get stuff to you. So, help us help you. And, if you got something going on, let us know.
Yeah.
As you saw the last section report, we actually did that on the road from the White Cars Clubhouse.
Yeah.
And, if you have, we've talked about taking that on the road before, and then COVID happened. So I kind of put a halt on it. But, if you're going to have something special coming up, or Mark, I don't want to speak out of turn, but we're open to come do that. So you can see what kind of, it's a behind the scenes thing. I don't know how special it is, but it's something else.
And if you want to write a column for the monthly newsletter I put out, please have at it.
Yeah.
that's true. There's another communication channel, Gordo's monthly stuff that he does. Absolutely, if any of you out there in amateur radio land in South Carolina would like us to visit your club and take a few minutes and film the video version of the section report, please let us know. We'd be glad to do it. And, we've done it once. We did it at the York County Amateur Radio Society. And, well, the next one won't be worse than that. I can guarantee you.
I thought that one actually turned out very well.
I tell you what, you need to lose the talking head. That guy's an idiot. But the concept is great.
Wow.
So
we don't have a lot to choose from.
Yeah. I figured that was how he got the job,
That's how I got the job. Yeah, how we got the job is he didn't say no. That's
there you go. Sometimes that's worse than saying yes. So let us know. Visiting your club is a wonderful opportunity for folks in your club to meet us. If there are things they'd like us to know, things they'd like us to do, what better way than to have a short conversation?
And we can
Also,
showcase your club.
Mm-hmm. Yes. If you're wondering why I feature certain clubs like the Schofield Middle School Amateur Radio Club, it's because those folks are very good about sending me content. Every time that group of kids does something, one of the mentors of the club, Kent Hufford, KQ4KK, he composes an email and sends it off to me. And I make sure that they get that recognition. So if your club's got something going on, tell me about it, and I'll find a way to get it in my section report. It may require a post on our webpage. And certainly if we can have an opportunity to visit your club, even if they tell us you don't want us to act crazy and shoot a section report, we still enjoy the opportunity to meet with amateurs in a club setting. It helps us understand more about what's going on in a club by listening to the members. And it also gives the members a chance to know who we are. Amateur radio is a great hobby, but so often we either see people like you're seeing me now, or you talk to people on the air and you never really get a chance to meet the real person. Well, we'd like to change that.
Yep.
We'll see if we can. So if your club is interested, let us know. We'll try to work out the details. One difference from the last time we did this before the pandemic is, for the time being at least, I am retired, which means I am able to travel all over the state, provided there's a reason to do so. So keep that in mind. Be happy to visit you and some of the clubs, some of you, I know where you are, so don't be surprised if you have me walk in on a Friday, or a Wednesday, or a Thursday, or whatever day of the week your club meeting is. And the reason I'm there, I I really want to learn more about the folks that we're volunteering to help, and that's probably the best way. Take some time, but you really get to know somebody. All right, Brad, I've said enough.
And so, going back to showcasing your club, I do on my channel a segment of shack tours. And, if you have a club station set up, I'd love to see it. We can do a thing on it and, try to drive some membership and more eyes to what you guys are doing.
Yes.
And I'm semi-retired, so I can pretty much travel. And next month, I think I'm going to be at the Trident Amateur Radio Club meeting, talking about my trip I made about 4 or 5 years ago to the Voice of America in Greenville, North Carolina.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, that's something I regret greatly that I didn't do when I was younger, and I was in SWL, is visit VOA, because they had multiple transmitter sites. And
There's still one there.
Yep, just that last one. That would have been something back in the day. And as much as I traveled early in my career, I could have done it. I just never got around to it.
Tubes you put in upside down and run water through them.
Bill N2COP was telling me the site that is now owned by East Carolina University, one of the clubs uses the antennas there on field day. One of the clubs around Greenville uses the VOA antennas on field day. And he said they did 40 meters out to Hawaii, skipping all the rest of the country. So
Well,
That could be a fun thing to go see.
I suspect that if you're given access to it, it's probably some kind of dipole curtain array that has 15, 18, 20 dB gain or more. That probably allows you to run QRP, grab that multiplier of 5, and still make a bucket full of contacts. I'm just thinking about it. If you had 15 dB, that means that your 5 watts into the array is 150 watts ERP. So that puts you on par with everybody else. Absolutely, it is awesome, and that might not be the most accessible field day site. This goes back to a question from David, but gosh, in terms, well, hello Munchkin, thank you for interrupting me. How about you go somewhere else? That would be one heck of a site just to operate. Might not be the most accessible for some of the bonus points, but in terms of just getting on the air and operating, particularly at low power, and yet making tons of contacts, it would be hard to beat. I've even wondered once in a while. I've actually looked once or twice for dead AM radio stations, because that's something that continues to happen. AM radio stations go dark, and maybe they live on their FM, on the FM side. But I thought that would be an interesting place. I have antenna envy now.
That's a common
Amen,
thing.
brother.
Very common thing.
Yep. I've thought about looking around for an old AM station, because AM antennas would load up pretty nicely on 160 meters, and you wouldn't need to run much power, and you would be noticed. Also, you can get some ropes up on the tower and put up some dipoles and things for some of the higher bands. Might be an interesting thing to do. if there's an AM station that's recently gone dark. And I even went as far as looking at a defunct AM radio station in Lancaster County, South Carolina. The towers are still there. Everything else is gone, but the towers are still there. There's no power on the site. The transmitter building is empty except for some ants and probably some mice. But there are 470-foot tall towers. They're roughly on a parallelogram, not a rectangle. It's actually a parallelogram. The interior angles are not all 90 degrees, but I think the long side is a little over roughly 300 feet, and the short side's about half that. And I thought, this would be one heck of a field day. So you could just come out here and, shoot some rope through the towers and pull up all kinds of antennas. And then you also have the option of a series feed on the tower, because the ATUs are gone. So you're essentially taking a 170-foot tower, which is some random impedance. You'd need some kind of matching network, and boom, you now own the whatever frequency you're using on 160, maybe 80. That'd be a little trickier, but it could be done. So that's certainly talk about field day sites. That's another one that's possible. And I haven't been by that site in Lancaster, but I think maybe when I've got some errands to run tomorrow, I may just head over that way just to see if the towers are still there. The station went off the air probably 7 or 8 years ago, maybe longer. It was WAGL 1560, a daytimer in Lancaster. It started operations, I believe, in 1962. A guy named Len Phillips ran the station his entire life, and finally he passed on, and the license was turned in. The station was shut down. It was a 4-tower array, because for those of you who've been SWLs or know anything about broadcasting, 1560 is a clear channel. It pretty much belongs to what used to be WQXR, the radio station of the New York Times. I don't know who owns that station now, and the call sign has changed. But he had to protect them during critical hours, so he had this 4-tower array. But it was set up to run 50 kW. I mean, this thing is serious. So every once in a while I go by and I keep thinking maybe I should find out who owns that property and see if I could use it on field day, because it would be one hell of an operation.
Yes,
and if you made enough noise about it ahead of time, it would be fairly accessible, because it's right next to a road. There's no gates or anything. All right. More than you wanted to know about potential field day sites, but those are some other things that we had mentioned earlier that you might look at. Would be any radio stations that have gone off the air. Could provide a great potential field day site. And while you may not know what to do with a 140 or 160 or 200-foot tower, that's where the creativity piece comes in. Think about it. There are any number of things you might be able to do, and sometimes it's not just the tower, but if you look at the guys are typically metallic and broken up. You might feed some of the guys against ground and on the HF bands. So there's a lot of different things that could be done. That's something else that I don't think people think about too often, but it's a possibility. And one thing about standard broadcast, there aren't many new licensees. Not many new licenses or construction permits are issued. I keep thinking that someday it's all just going to go away, but it hasn't yet. It's been over a century. But there may be some opportunities. Back to you, Brad.
I think that's about it. Looks like things are slowing down. Appreciate everybody coming out, and we will be back next quarter, and we'll do another one of these.
And hopefully we'll have lots of good information about amateur radio activities that clubs are undertaking, so that we can spread the word and give these people some recognition.
Yep. So don't forget, just to recap, if you want one of us from the field organization to visit, put your field day site on the field day locator, and that's on the ARRL.org website. Also, the new rules. We had, what, 3 big changes? That was power requirements and multiplier factors. I think, well, wasn't there another one? What was the other one? GOTA.
Get on the air. If you have a get on the air station that is not supervised by a coach, 5 points per contact. Some real points there.
Yep. It sure is.
That might turn out to be the biggest leveler there was.
Yeah.
Is.
Gordon, you got anything to close?
Not really. Keep on keeping on and send us information.
And hopefully, I know we got another little thing tomorrow. I think we're going to talk about trying to get more involvement and information out of clubs. So, what we talked about earlier, maybe we can, somebody has spearheaded a little bit of that, and we'll have details for that.
What's going on tomorrow?
John's
call.
having a duty wad on Zoom, I think.
Okay.
He twisted
Yeah.
my arm to participate.
So the South Carolina Leadership Roundtable tomorrow. You got the
Yeah.
thing. I think you replied, said you'd be there.
Yeah, that's right. Tomorrow's March 14th. Okay.
It is the day before the Ides of March.
Yep. And about a week, maybe 8 days from the vernal equinox.
Yeah. Hopefully everybody's maintaining a time change okay. Hey, thanks, Ed, for stopping by. All right. We got anything else?
I'll just say, Ed, thank you. And David, if you're still out there, thank you too. We appreciate folks who came by to share their thoughts with us and their questions. And we're not that hard to stump, so come back in 13 weeks, bring more questions. And if we don't have a good answer, we'll make it as interesting as we can.
There you go. All right, guys. Thanks for stopping by. Stay tuned with us. Don't forget Mark's section reports out there if you missed it earlier. And, if you want us to visit, let us know. And keep sending us stuff, what you guys are doing, so we can help get the word out. So after that, thanks, guys, for stopping by. We will see you next time.